Hello everyone, my name is Richard, and today we're going to be discussing the effects of skeletal muscle and exercise on physical and mental health for humans. First, we're going to talk about mental improvement as it pertains to mood. So, it turns out that skeletal muscle, which is built by exercising, can help break down certain bad chemicals and thus improve your mental health. And how does this work? Well, basically, there is this essential amino acid that we all consume. It's called tryptophan, and in our body, it gets digested. It gets processed into these metabolites, and it turns out some of these metabolites are very bad for us, or they can be bad for us. For example, kynurenine. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but basically, this chemical it can cross our blood-brain barrier, this sort of barrier in our blood, in our brain, and kind of affect our brain tissues. Normally, the barrier is there to protect our brain from any sort of dangerous chemicals from seeping into the brain and damaging it. But this particular metabolite, kynurenine, it can pass that barrier and negatively affect our mood. However, skeletal muscles contain these proteins called CAT, and these CAT proteins are enzymes that convert this bad chemical kynurenine into kyanurenic acid, and in this form, the acid is unable to cross that barrier to impair our brain tissues. So, in essence, skeletal muscle can help prevent or stop these bad tryptophan metabolites from affecting our brain tissues by converting them into a form that cannot trespass our brain barrier. Now we're going to talk about learning. So it turns out that another improvement that is made from exercise and skeletal muscle is motor skill learning. So when you exercise, it activates this protein called mTOR, which you don't need to know what that means, but it's just a protein that is involved in motor learning. It does that by what we call spinogenesis. It's involved in neuron growth in the spine, synaptic transmissions, neuron activity, and so forth, and also brain development. So skeletal muscle in particular releases this chemical called FNDC5 irisin, and these proteins activate another chemical called brain-derived neurotropic factor, and this brain-derived neurotropic factor significantly improves or promotes brain development, like neuron cell growth, axonal myelination, etc. So, in essence, exercise can help boost our learning, our ability to learn things. Now, finally, we're going to discuss the previous two slides were about mental improvements, but this one's going to be about physical improvements, something I found quite interesting while reading some research. So there's a protein called AMPK, and if you've ever taken a biology class, you know that there's this energy molecule called ATP. It's like the energy currency of the cell. Well, guess what? We have a protein that helps maintain these ATP levels, right? Which makes sense. Biology is all about sustaining life, and to sustain life, you have to have homeostasis. And this is one of the ways we maintain homeostasis in our body, as on a cellular level, is by having these proteins that maintain the levels of basically energy, usable energy in our cells. And it turns out that exercise can increase the proliferation of this particular protein. And when there are higher levels of this AMPK protein, there is less necessity for the liver to push out glucose into the circulation. And when this occurs, basically, less insulin is necessary because there's less glucose or sugar being excreted by the liver. So, what does this mean for us? Well, exercise is really, really fantastic for preventing insulin resistance, combating insulin resistance, which is particularly important for people who are struggling with type 2 diabetes. And then these are my citations. Thank you for listening to my presentation.